Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here, the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler family, the Let's Talk to Cutler vlog. I'm a little late, and I'm so sorry. I'm a little late, you all, because I'm dealing with change. I'm dealing with change. It's something I'm going to talk about. So if people are running by, and this is your first time here, I have to tell you, if you're dealing with change and it's stressing you out, you definitely want to hear this conversation. I promise you do. You want to hear this conversation. I've had a fantastic birthday weekend. Some of you asked about it. Some of you texted me. Some of you sent emails. I've had a fantastic birthday weekend, a fantastic Juneteenth celebration. And I'll tell you about my weekend in just a moment. But let me just say this to you. If the world sometimes gets you down, if you hear so much bad news, so much depressing news, so much news that just drags you under, you're in the right place. Stop here. This is going to be our fill up time at the gas station. We used to call it service station when I was growing up. And this is going to be a moment when we become recharged, when we get renewed, all that sort of stuff, reinvigorated, all that stuff. So tell people, if they're just stopping by, make sure that they subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and subscribe. We spend about 1,800 seconds live here every Tuesday, every Thursday, trying to see how can we show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. I'll tell y'all when my voice is raspy. Some of you all know it's raspy because I've done a lot of talking. But I'm telling you all, so many things happen in life. This is a moment, this is a time, this is the respite for us to just get together, share as a community of winners our thoughts about how we can win, how we can show up better tomorrow than we did today. It doesn't mean that today was a loss. It doesn't even mean that yesterday was a loss, but it means we're seeing what nugget can I grab from today? What nugget can I grab from this conversation that's going to thrust me and catapult me into a position tomorrow where I can look back and say, you know what? I'm so glad I went through yesterday. That's what I want us to be able to say in life. I'm so glad I went through yesterday, because out of that 24-hour session, out of that 24-hour segment, there was something that I learned. There was something that I got. You all, every day we go through life, there ought to be something. If it's only one thing, there ought to be something that we get through every single day that we live. I'm not saying that we're having all of these great awakenings 24 hours a day. I'm not saying that every day there is this magnificent epiphany of how to build a better mousetrap or how to build a better this or better that. But what we can grab from every day is to how to become a better me. And that's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. I want to say a special hello to the 3 LTTC VIPs for this evening. Those are the people who just jumped in the chat and started talking. But again, I want to remind you, if you're just stopping by, do me a favor. Pump your brakes, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you will know whenever I've gone live, whenever I've uploaded new content, that sort of thing. Because we talk about real situations here. We talk about real situations, real people, real circumstances, real situations. And I hope we're offering real solutions, real ways of dealing with these sorts of things. I just want to shout out the LTCC VIPs before I keep on going. They are Linda Martin. These are the people who just jump in the chat, sometimes before I do, and they offer their greetings to everybody. Linda Martin says, good evening, everyone. Ready to get on board to ride down this highway. Linda, that's what we're going to do tonight. And again, I'm going to try to share from a very personal space, a space where I am right now, dealing with change and trying to remind myself, don't stress over it. Don't stress over change. So you all hang on, don't leave. We're going to talk about how and why not to stress over change. We're going to walk away with some practical ways of handling change. Let's see who else jumped into the chat early. Looks like our good friend Jet jumps in and she offers her greetings to everybody. Good evening to everybody. And then let's see, looks like our friend Queen Nita Roselia hops in and she says, good evening to everybody. I'm so thankful for you all. I'm thankful that you all decide to spend this time with us together. Some of you all remember last week I was getting ready to celebrate my birthday. I actually was here. Thursday was my birthday. And I told you all that my oldest brother and sister-in-law were taking me out to dinner. They did. We went out to dinner, had a wonderful dinner. And then I had to travel the next day. The very next day I traveled. And when I got to my home area where I grew up, where I was born and raised, I went back home. You all, I have never in my life been surprised to this magnitude. I have never had a surprise birthday party, and I'm almost 60 years old. I've never had a surprise birthday party. Can I tell you all how my family pulled one over on me? They got me good. As much as you all see me up here talking and generally always having something to say, I was speechless. My family tells me that I wasn't speechless. It's just that I could not complete a sentence. I was babbling. I was rambling. I was searching for the right words. I was looking at the space and assessing the space and looking at people saying, okay, I know you, but this is not the space where you should be right now. In fact, this is not the space where any of you should be. So it was a fantastic birthday celebration that my family did for me. Birthday surprise, kudos to them. And then I had the wonderful, Tracy, it really was a nice surprise. My mother was there, my uncles and first cousins, siblings. I mean, it was a wonderful, absolutely wonderful surprise. And I'm so thankful. People, even though they love you, people don't have to go to lengths to show you that kind of kindness. And I never take it for granted. I was so thankful. And I think one of the reasons I kept talking to you all is because I didn't want to be moved to tears so quickly. But I was really moved. In my heart of hearts, I was really moved. And then they wrote in these cards things that they hope for me, things that they hope my future looks like, things that they wanted God to do for me. And when I got in a private space that evening and read those, of course, out of their presence, it was a floodgate of tears because I started thanking God for. Remember last time we talked, I said let's talk about the reasons why we're thankful, and I kept reading those cards, and I started thanking God for putting the right people in my life. And I'm so very thankful for that. And then the very next day, I had the opportunity, and I'm going to call out this name. I had the opportunity to speak at a Juneteenth event that was sponsored by YNTO in Pamlico County, North Carolina. YNTO, Youth Navigating Towards Opportunity. If you get a chance, look them up on social media. If you get a chance, please, if they are 501c3, as a matter of fact, their county Chamber of Commerce selected them as the nonprofit organization of the year. I thought it was absolutely amazing. A group of young people with sponsors and counselors just doing an amazing job with creating opportunities for young people there in the county for educational opportunities to stay physically fit, opportunities to have spaces where they can share the things that are happening with them. So for physical activities, educational activities, spaces where they can get tutoring and all sorts of stuff. I was so impressed by that organization, and we had a wonderful, absolutely wonderful time. YNTO, Youth Navigating Toward Opportunity, back in Pamlico County, North Carolina. If you get a chance, look them up on social media, look them up. And if you can make any kind of contribution to them, please go ahead and do so. I think it would just be absolutely wonderful. So there you have it. But y'all, let's talk about change. And let's talk about how we sometimes stress over change, trying to deal with change. I'm going through some things, dealing with a whole lot of things, and I have to remind myself, don't stress about the change. And so I wanted to chat with you all and see, how do you handle change? How many of you are creatures of habit? Do you easily adjust to change? Or are you the kind of person who would prefer that things stay the same? I'm only here for 1,800 seconds, so I want to honor that time. So I want to ask you all again, how many of you are creatures of change? Creatures of habit, rather. Do you easily adjust to change? Or would you prefer that things stay the same? Cutler, why would you ask that? I asked that question because seasons change, things change, people change, places change, even we change. And I told y'all, I would tell you why my voice is, it's like it is, because I was excited at the birthday party. I was talking, and then I had the speaking engagement. Of course, last week I did a lot of speaking. But again, so I'm looking. Tell me, do you easily just and so now I'm looking at the comments. Tracy, no, I'm a creature of habit. Linda, I'm a creature of habit. Many of us are creatures of habit, but there are some people who really enjoy the dynamics of life and how things change. But I'm telling you, seasons change, and we know that we're getting ready. We're getting ready to deal with the change of a season tomorrow. We are officially in summer as of tomorrow. So yes, we know seasons change all throughout the year. Things change. As I was traveling this weekend, I kept looking at the speed limit, and I remember when I was growing up, the speed limit, the regular speed limit on the interstate when I was growing up was 55. In fact, the speed limit said 55, trucks 50. Does anybody remember that? When normal traffic or regular traffic other than trucks go 55, but then it would say trucks 50. And I thought about that because this week, while I was on the interstate, while I was on the highway, the speed limit was up to 70 miles per hour. And it occurred to me, wow, things really do change. Gas prices change. Ways of doing things change. If the pandemic didn't show us anything else, it showed us that the ways of doing things can, will, and do change. The ways of doing school change. The ways of doing work change. The ways of doing church change. The ways of socializing change. The ways of interacting with our family change. The ways of grocery shopping. All of that stuff changed. Things change. People change. People sometimes go from being well to being sick. They go to from being young to getting older, and then old. Places change. I drove through some places where I grew up, places that were so familiar to me, and I looked at how buildings had gone up and how some buildings had gone down, how some new highways and streets were put in and how some had been closed off. Things change, people change, and we change. So how do we handle it? How do we handle it? And so I'll offer some things, as I often do, you all, from my own experience, from some of the literature that I've read, from different perspectives that I have. How do we handle change and not become so stressed? One of the things, you all, is we don't ignore it. A lot of times we try to ignore when things are changing. If I pretend it's not changing, if I ignore it, it won't change and I'll be okay. No, that's one of the worst things to do. Ignore it like it's not happening. Because I've seen change take place and I've seen people ignore the change that was taking place. It's sometimes called denial. We look at people and we see their health failing. It could be their physical health or their mental health. And many times we will operate from a place of denial and act like it's not happening. And I'll share this. This is, God knows, this is me being very transparent. Because my grandmother has Alzheimer's, and I can tell you all this. There are family members who, when it first started, with the onset of it, they ignored it, made excuses, and act like it was normal, and act like it was okay, and try to make excuses for all of the indicators that we saw. And I wanted to scream, this is not normal. Don't normalize this. Things are changing. She's changing. And we're not going to be okay if we operate from a space and a place of denial. Don't ignore change when it's happening. Don't ignore change when it's happening. And then right along, I told you all, some of the things that I have to offer, they really do come from very personal spaces. And I thank you all for allowing me to do that. And I hope these are things that may resonate with some of you. But that's a very real thing for me as I watch the onset of this dreaded disease. I'm thankful that we still have my grandmother with us, but just watching the indicators of dementia, you can't deny it. Don't ignore it. That's one thing that I would offer us as a community tonight. I would offer and admonish us. Not, if you want to handle change, don't ignore it. And then plan for it. Plan for it, especially if it's not an immediate overnight change for goodness sakes, and for your senility and for your senility and sanity, plan for it. If you can, plan ahead, prepare for it. There are some things that certain cultures don't like to talk about. Certain cultures don't like to talk about death. But honestly, y'all, in the natural scheme of things, hopefully people will outlive their parents. So what do? Create a mental script for how we're going to handle this. Some people say, Cutler, I really don't want to write it down, because if I write it down, I have to face the reality of it. I would suggest that you face the reality of it when you can, my friends. And even if you can't find the ability, the wherewithal to write it down, create a mental script. The same way that couples prepare when a baby is on his or her way. You keep the bag packed. The water breaks, this is what we're going to do. I'll call so-and-so. I'll make sure the car is ready. If we got other children, I'll make sure a sitter is going to come here. I'll make sure you have a mental script. I hope I'm helping somebody this evening, you all. The same way that families and even schools do all of these drills. I grew up in Eastern North Carolina, and we would do hurricane drills, tornado drills, fire drills. The same way that families and schools do all of these kinds of drills. Plan for the what if. And more accurately, not the what if, but plan for the when this happens kind of things. We don't like to talk about this, but I hope I'm helping us as a community make a plan. What's going to happen when the parents die? What's going to happen when the grandparents die? How are we going to handle the property? How are we going to handle the land? How are we going to handle the houses? Plan, you all, plan. Even you, didn't I say that we change as well? If God is gracious, we will get older. I tell people all the time, it does not matter how old you may be, how young you may be. Plan for retirement when? As soon as you get a job. I don't care that you just graduated from college or trade school or high school. Plan for retirement as soon as you get the job. Enroll in the pension plan, the 401k. Do all of that. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for letting me know that what I'm saying is sound advice. Linda says this. She had a plan for mom and dad, and it made things so less stressful. Thank you for sharing that from your personal journey. That way I know I'm just not talking just out the side of my neck. Linda says she had a plan when her mother and her father passed, and it made things less stressful. We got a plan, you all. It helps. Yes, it brings things right to the forefront. It puts the situation right in your face. But plan. Many of you know that not so long ago I stood over my aunt's casket and I did the eulogy. But I can tell you this, it was less stressful for my uncle, her husband, and her children. It was less stressful because they planned. I watched them plan. They planned. Did it hurt our hearts? Did I see the hurt in there? Did I see them going through the emotional pain? Absolutely. But it was less stressful because they had planned. I told you all, I'm just sharing this from a personal space. And then what else would I suggest in terms of how to deal with change? Keep checking on yourself. Keep checking on yourself. Keep checking your emotions and acknowledge how do you feel. And I have to share this tonight. I want to make sure that I get this thought across. When I say keep checking your emotions and acknowledge how you feel. Learn to say to yourself, I feel, and fill in the blank with an emotion. Don't just necessarily say, I feel like throwing something through the wall. Throwing something through the wall is not an emotion. Throwing something through the wall is a response to an emotion. I feel like screaming. Screaming is not an emotion. It is a response to an emotion. But learn to fill in that blank and confront how you feel. Keep checking your emotions. I feel sad. That's an emotion. I feel hopeless. That's a state of being. Learn how to confront and acknowledge how you feel, not just your reaction to how you feel. I hope I'm helping somebody this evening. I feel like running away. Running away is not an emotion. Confront how you feel. I feel abandoned. Learn to say those things. I feel forsaken. Learn to say those things. Acknowledge how you feel. Keep checking your emotions and be honest with yourself. All right? I deputize all of us, my offering that I bring to us this evening. And I don't know that I did this the last couple of times that we were together, but I do have an offering. And my offering is the power to honestly acknowledge to ourselves how we feel. I feel and fill in the blank. I wonder how you all would say this evening how you feel. Because for some of us feel, I feel happy. I feel hopeful. Got to take the, thank you. Tracy said, yes, the other day, I had one of those days. Let's put this up. Thank you. Tracy said, I had one of those days that everything went wrong and had to take a minute to take it in stride. We do. Come to grips with how I feel. People don't like to give us the space to acknowledge how we feel, but that's why we can come together. Tell people, listen, you want to be able to put your emotions in check and talk about how you feel. Come on, really, come and let's talk to Cutler. Got to acknowledge how we feel and be able to do that in this space and in an environment where you're not threatened, where you're not intimidated. And then the next thing I would offer us this evening, y'all, is to create a space of comfort for yourself. And that's a very personal thing to do. Because many times we do react. Many times we react like throwing something against the wall or running away. Many times we react by engaging in these emotional and sometimes unhealthy behaviors. You don't have to cuss people out. You don't have to. You don't have to cuss people out. Not when you're constantly acknowledging your emotions. And you say to yourself, I know this is how I feel. So let me step aside. And because I feel this way and this is not my normal way of being, I know that if I do something, I'm going to react in a way that is not my normal way of reacting. Because I feel, thank you, Linda, because I may feel overwhelmed. And I'm not typically overwhelmed. And if I react now, it's going to be a reaction to a feeling of being overwhelmed. You don't have to cuss people out. You don't have to smoke. You don't have to drink. You don't have to gamble. You don't have to overeat. You don't have to indulge in anything that's unhealthy. Look for stress relievers. Look for what works for you. It may be listening to relaxing music. It might be taking a walk. It might be sitting outside. It might be exercising. It might be taking a warm bath. It might be doing whatever is comforting for you. For you. Linda is sharing this evening that as a caregiver, it is okay to acknowledge when you feel overwhelmed. Absolutely. And I promise you all, at some point, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, we're going to have a segment where we talk about the caregiver and caregiving. Learn how to create a space of comfort for yourself. Many times, even with caregivers, while you're taking care of other people, don't forget to create a space of comfort for yourself. Whatever is comforting for you, incorporate stress relieving and enjoyable activities into your day. And for goodness sakes, and for your sake, whether it's your health, your physical health sake, or your mental health sake, or your emotional health sake, for your sake, don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's from a trusted friend or a professional. I'm telling you all. And I got one that I just call find your personal reset button. I can't scream that loudly enough. I'm going to yell it again for the people in the back. Find your personal reset button. Cutler, what do you mean? I mean, find the things that help you, find the thing or the things that help you, that will help you erase the mental and emotional chalkboard and start all over. Find the thing that helps you clear your mind or clear your head. What is it that helps you to become receptive to the possibility of perhaps a different mindset? What is it for you? For some people, it's a walk along the beach. It's water. For some people, it's a nice sunset or sunrise. For some people, it's different things. For me, can I tell you what it is for me? What is Cutler's personal reset button? When my mind is clouded, what is my reset button? What helps to clear my mind? What clears my head? What is it that helps me become receptive to the possibility of a different mindset? What is it for me? It's my family. People who know me know it's my family is my personal reset button. I broke my foot. I still have my family. A year later, they had to do reconstructive surgery on my ankle and I couldn't walk. But in my mind, I still have my family. Those things were overwhelming to me. I've never been incapacitated. As small as it may seem to others, I have never been incapacitated. So that affected my mind. It affected me emotionally. It affected my ego. It affected all of that. But I had to say to myself, I still have my family. There have been times when I and some of the rest of us did not necessarily get the best doctor's report, but what helps me to reset, I still have my family. And as many of you know, and you all have watched me bury my dad, bury my aunt, bury cousins, bury so many loved ones. And even if I had to bury one family member, I always tell myself, be thankful for the time that I had with them, and then to give thanks for the family that I still have. My family is my personal reset button. Learn to find your personal reset button. What helps you clear your head, clear your mind? Make you receptive to the possibility that things won't always be this way. Find a personal reset button. I know we don't characterize it like that, but whatever it helps, whatever it takes to help you reset, find it, you all. And it's not always going to be the same for all of us. Find it. I have a firm conviction for finding your personal reset button. And then sometimes, as much as we don't like to do this, I say, yes, listen to the chatter, the nonverbal and the verbal communication, the comments of whom, very selective, of whom, Cutler, of your trusted friends. Not just people in general, not just any old body, but your trusted friends, the people who are near and dear to your heart. Listen to the verbal and the nonverbal communication. If they, not everybody, but if your personal confidants are telling you that you seem irritable, listen to them. If the people in your nuclear space, not just any old body, but the people who you trust with your heart, if they are telling you that you seem irritable, listen to them. And perhaps reassess or reevaluate your behavior and your space. So, okay, I trust these people with my heart. I trust them with my emotions. I trust them with my life. So when they're saying something to me, let me learn how to hear and receive. I got one more, you all. I got one more. I hope this is helping us. Only other thing I can offer us tonight in terms of how to deal with change. Read the scales. Cutler, what on earth do you mean when you say read the scales? Ask yourself, ask yourself, how much can I control And if the scales are tipping on the side of overload, learn to relinquish, learn to give it up, and learn to ask for help. A few weeks ago, I did a pop-up segment, and I called it Breaking Down the Serenity Prayer. Because now the scale is tipping on the side of overload. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the peace of mind to deal with the things that I can't do anything about. Give me the courage, the tenacity, the fortitude to change those things that I can. Would you give me the wisdom, the divine knowledge to know the difference between what I can't change and what I can? Read the scales and ask yourself, how much of this can I control? And if it gets to the point of overload, honestly, you all, let it go. Give it up. Ask for help. Because so many of us are putting it in this chat tonight. Take care of yourself first. It is aligned with what I'm talking about now when I say read the scales, because you will be no good to yourself or anyone else when you're struggling with the load that you know you can't carry. You're no good to anybody, not even yourself. That is why. So for people who may catch the replay and they say, what is that guy all about? What is that channel all about? We're looking at real life situations to say, for goodness sake, how can I show up better tomorrow than I did today? Perhaps today, Cutler, thank you, because maybe, just maybe, I was dealing with change and I was not quite sure how to process it. It was stressing me out. But perhaps there's a nugget in what you said. Or maybe I was dealing with someone who was dealing with change and I didn't know what to say. And maybe there's a nugget in our conversation. Or maybe I was ignoring the fact that change is taking place and I'm figuring that if I put it off, if I don't do anything about it, if I operate in a space of denial, I'll be okay, but I won't. Let's deal with it. Let's not ignore it. Let's plan for it. Let's keep checking our emotions. Let's create a space of comfort for ourselves. Let's make sure that we find our personal reset buttons. Let's make sure we listen to the chatter of our trusted friends. And let's make sure that we read the scales and ask ourselves, how much can we control? That is how I believe we deal with change. Thank you all for spending this time with me. Thank you so much. Let's keep on building community, maintaining connectivity. Let's do what we do. Let's stay hopeful. Let's keep our heads up, keep our hopes up, stay safe and stay sane. And know this, and I mean this, that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Tell somebody else. You all got to come on and let's talk to Cutler. I will see you all Thursday. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night.